Actual answers, listen up, Michael Savage, Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh. December 27, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Okay, let's begin with the fact that I stopped listening to conservative talk radio about the same time I stopped listening to mainstream media. I stopped listening to mainstream media because I proved, scientifically, that I was being fed a steady diet of news about sex and death, none of which I could do anything about, and none of which had any practical benefit for me. So, instead of feeling depressed and anxious, I turned the dial and started wondering, what possible benefit do these scags get from feeding people useless stories about sex and death? The situation with talk radio is somewhat similar. After 6 months of analyzing Michael, Mark, and Rush, I came to the unavoidable conclusion that these guys are great at asking questions, but don't offer answers. Maybe they can't talk about actual answers and still keep their broadcasting license? So, again, I turned the dial. They may have some use in prodding people to ask questions about government issues, but that's like encouraging an interest in gingivitis without discussing bacteria and oral hygiene. Oh, gee, my gums are bleeding. End. Dead silence. For me, staring at my navel ended in high school. Picking the lint out has continued unabated ever since. So here are the 3 big blockbuster pieces of information that all these guys don't tell you. 1. The way all the rats are getting around respecting your constitutional guarantees is by redefining who you are, and they are using simple semantic deceit to do it. As an American state national, you are owed all your guarantees and respect for your natural and unalienable rights. You can also act as a state citizen of the United States and hold the rats to their obligations. So they redefine you and mistake you as, instead, a United States citizen, as if you were born in Puerto Rico, instead of Bangor, Maine. And they also contrive to mistake you as a citizen of the United States, as if you were a U.S. corporation chartered in Washington, D.C. These other citizens have no constitutional guarantees or protections. At best, the United States citizens have equal civil rights. Wake up, people, what are these civil rights supposed to be equal to? They are supposed to be equal to your natural and unalienable rights, but they aren't, because they are conferred on you by the Congress, and what Congress gives, Congress can take away, as opposed to natural and unalienable rights, which are the free gift of nature and nature's God. Because you don't know the verbiage and don't know what they are alleging about you, and so, you don't protest and deny their allegations, they get away with this sleight of hand. And they use it to infringe on your right to keep and bear arms, your right to travel where you please, and your right to have custody of your own children, and on and on and on. It's all because you, a state citizen of the United States, have been, mistakenly on purpose, misidentified as a British territorial United States citizen or a municipal United States citizen of the United States. And you have been kept in the dark and unable to rebut these legal presumptions until now. So there's answer number 1. Get off your rumps and draw the line for your employees, so that they are no longer able to impersonate you and deny you your guarantees and seize upon your property and put you in jail for regulatory infractions and taxes that only apply to them. Ready for number 2? 2. Both political parties practice the Hegelian dialectic. What to underscore is that, you may say? It's a simple but ugly step-by-step process. First, you create a problem. Second, you stomp around and complain about the problem you created. Third, you offer a solution to the problem. Fourth, you get chosen to implement the solution, which gives you political power. Fifth, you solve the problem you created, and spawn 4 or 5 new problems. In this way, you dupe your victims into thinking that you are their savior and indispensable to them in Washington, D.C., and as long as you can create problems, you can keep your seat. Here is a real-life example. 1. The federal government corporation creates a fraud scheme that allows them to make false commercial claims against the assets of your county. They create the problem. 2. This leaves your county unable to pay its bills and leads to widespread unemployment and misery in the cities within your county. They decry the problem, the poverty, the unemployment, etc., that they created. 3. LBJ offers federal block grants as assistance to your county. These are kickbacks from the racketeering and fraud that took place in Step 1. They present the solution to the problem they created and with much fanfare unveil the new federal program. 4. Your county takes the bait, gets a share of the payola, and starts functioning as a dependent franchise of the criminal federal government corporation. Your county officials are snookered into participating in the fraud and racketeering and think that the federal government has saved the county, because they don't realize that the feds created the problem in the first place. 5. LBJ and other perpetrators are regarded as heroes instead of as villains, and they are rewarded for their bad deeds, thus encouraged to continue on in the same manner. And all the clueless grateful voters continue to put these con men into office. That's the way this really works. The sleazy politicians are ultimately rewarded for creating problems, not for solving them. So guess what? They, themselves, create an endless avalanche of problems that would not otherwise exist. They create poverty. They create unemployment. They create broken families. They create environmental disasters. They create wars. They create bad food, bad drugs, bad medical care practices. They are profiting from all the problems they create, so they just create more. Ready for number 3? 3. All the evils and ills in the world require middlemen, and middlemen are thus purposefully inserted into every program and process you can imagine. The IRS is a middleman. The banks are all middlemen. The defense contractors are middlemen. The arms dealers are middlemen. The insurance companies are middlemen. The tax assessor is a middleman. The corporate politicians are all middlemen. The human resources departments are all middlemen. The CPS agents are middlemen. The Leos are all middlemen. The judges are all middlemen, and yes, the priests in the Roman Catholic Church are all middlemen, too. They all insert themselves and stand in the middle, and profit themselves by doing so. Everywhere you look, in every system of society that you examine closely, you will find the same thing. We live in a complex, responsive, morphogenic information matrix that we ultimately control via the net result of our combined thoughts and feelings. Naturally, we should seek what is good for ourselves and our families, right? Whatever gives us the greatest pleasure and health and well-being should be instantly reflected in the world around us. Instead, what happens? The governments of the world, operating under the principles exposed in actual answer number 2 above, insert middlemen into the process, and use these middlemen to distort and upend and reverse results. You wish for peace and plenty, but they get in the middle and send out the false information that you want war and deprivation, instead. So you get war and deprivation, because these middlemen messed with the signal. And most of the time, they don't even know what they are doing. The knowledge about this is kept compartmentalized, so that middleman A doesn't know what middleman B is doing. And, you, of course, are left standing there shaking your head thinking, WTF? I ordered up a heaping helping of peace and plenty, and I get war and disaster, instead? Well, yes, that is exactly what happens because the mirror is being distorted and reverse-imaged like a funhouse mirror. And it is being done deliberately, with malice aforethought, without your knowledge and without your consent, and even without, generally speaking, the knowledge of the middlemen implementing the distortion. And all for the profit and curiosity of men like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and mad scientists and even crazier politicians who have lost all sense of morality and who propose to play God. Literally. About 30 years ago, these same players unleashed Mindbox technology on the world and along with it, the weird world of MERS and the Beast system in Belgium. Now, they have tinkered and added more layers of middlemen and found out more scientific information that they are exploiting as A1 technology to control your thoughts, which control your emotions, which together form the basis of reality for the entire planet. If they succeed and are not brought down, they will create a world of unspeakable horror. As a result, both the kingpins in Silicon Valley and their offshoots in China have to be brought down, their patents cancelled, and their ability to profit, in any way from their evil AI middleman technology, put to an end. The simplest temporary solution is to render their physical bodies inoperable, and destroy their broadcast and AI middleman programs. This can be done using conventional and unconventional special forces. The second quickest and ultimately most efficient and longer-term answer is to overwhelm their distortion with positive thoughts and emotions. This may require us to suspend belief in the ugliness surrounding us and to consciously generate thoughts and feelings of peace and plenty to countermand and correct the message they are sending. It may also require us to become truly conscious and resistant to their interference with our brain waves and their attempts to create second brains within our neurological framework. We can do this simply by telling our brains not to obey outside subliminal programming that we do not consciously know about and approve of. To create such a subconscious command, simply repeat the instruction over and over in a variety of times and circumstances, but especially at bedtime and when you first wake in the morning. I do not accept subliminal programming from artificial intelligence and broadcast sources. This is the equivalent of building a firewall against external artificial intelligence and broadcast manipulation of your neural network. This is for real, folks. Listen up, Mike, Mark, and Rush. Google, Facebook, Neuralink sued for weaponized AI tech transfer, complicity to genocide in China. Now before you click off. Help support this work by visiting www.annavonreitz.com and look for the donate button. Here is a simple tool for humanity to preempt colds, flu and relieve seasonal allergies. Use coupon code ANNAYouTube to get 10% off and 20% gets donated to help support Anna von Reitz. Watch the videos at wellnessrods.com for more information. Links to this article and more can be found in the video description box.